This is going to look like it has something to do with Wizard World Comic Con coming up next week in St. Louis, but it doesn't.
No.
As far as I know, it has nothing to do. We have with us here Jason Contini, writer and star of Four Color Eulogy, and his director, Wyatt Weed.
Yes, and they've been
both Midwestern boys
to filmmakers here in the Midwest for quite a while, because aren't you quite successful in this?
He's done okay for himself.
If I'm so successful, why am I not rich? That's the question.
Were you losing less money than you did before?
Yes, that much is true. That much is true. No, I had a fairly successful kind of acting and filmmaking career in California. I'm from the Midwest, and I went out to California for about 20 years. Some acting success, some filmmaking success, but I got sick of it. It got expensive out there. And then this thing, the digital revolution, happened.
Yeah.
So I decided to come back to St. Louis and do it here. A lot easier, a lot less expensive.
Right.
People are still happy to be involved.
And you get more attention, really, I think, from Hollywood being
it's the strategic business move of making yourself a big fish in a little pond.
Yes.
And it pays off. It works.
And St. Louis has one heck of an acting and theater community, doesn't it? So you have a lot
theater
and here's our actor right here.
Theater and film community, yeah, but the theater community especially has really been building up. I mean, last night was just the St. Louis Theater Circle Awards, and
by the way, your dad won something at that?
He won Outstanding Director of a Comedy for directing Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf at St. Louis Actor Studio, which was a great production. Everything that they do down there is great.
And that is John Contini.
John Contini.
Yeah, and that's your dad.
Who acted with you in Four Color Eulogy.
Movie. Let's just get this out of the way before everybody's like, what's going on here? It's this movie that has a comic book connection. The character here is a comic book. Well, this guy, he's like a big nerd.
He played Brian.
He's a big nerd. He's
best
a big
friend. Well, actually, no. He's the geek in the movie. He's the geek, and Jason is the nerd. But in real life, Jason is the geek. Right. Grew up in a comic store in South St. Louis.
I worked at a comic shop called Comic Headquarters down in South County on Telegraph, and it's funny when we actually wrote the original script, that's what I envisioned in my head as being the comic shop in the film. When we started doing location scouting, we noticed pretty quickly that was not going to work. There just wasn't enough space to get in all the equipment and
so you found
extras.
One up in Maryland Heights?
We found Maryland Heights, called Newcastle Comics, which is a fantastic shop. So any comic book fans out there, any comic book fans out there, go check them out.
And this is you here. You're the lead. Would you say lead actor?
Yeah. I'm one of the 5 leads.
Okay. Hey, when you write the movie, you get the lead.
But then you get to work with your dad, which is a wonderful thing.
Yes, and actually, we did a production of Death of a Salesman together after we shot this film, and that was the first time that we had been on stage together in about almost 20 years, but this was the first time that we had acted together.
What do you think? Is that weird, being on stage with your dad and,
No, we used to, in the 80s and the 90s, we used to do it together all the time. So, it was actually, it's been weird not working together
very
as
interesting.
often.
Now, Wyatt has been very politely pulling back, wanting to say something in here.
I may have forgotten. No, he's being modest because he really is the central character in the film. I mean, everybody's got pretty equal parts, but if there's a hero or if somebody has a hero's journey in the film, it's definitely Jason's character. But he and Jessica Winningham and Nicholas J. Hearn all kind of spend equal time on screen together. They're sort of the trio.
All from St. Louis, all the other actors?
Yes. Our entire cast is from St. Louis. Wow. And not only are they from St. Louis, but our entire cast is pulled 100% from the St. Louis theater community.
How about that?
Which I'm not certain, but I think might be the first time that's ever happened in a local film, that we have pulled that many people from the theater community.
Nice.
Really trying to bridge that gap between
Wyatt, when
so
you
much
did
talent here. I don't know why.
When you did Shadowland, which you also shot in St. Louis, were there a lot of St. Louisans in that as well?
I think it was all St. Louisans once again. The difference was they were all primarily film and low-budget film actors. That's where Jason and I first met, is he played one of the leads in Shadowland. That's how we connected.
Right,
About almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah, almost 10 years ago. And what's interesting is adjusting the difference between a film actor and a stage actor. Because 90% of the stage actors were really able to adjust. But you could tell that for some of them, it was work because they're used to sort of feeling it live and seeing where it goes. And in film, it's like start here, finish here. Say it like this, do it like this. And you need that in film. You need that technical, that precision. But I think everybody did a really great job of adapting and working it out. And honestly, I think the acting was better in 4-Color. I'm really proud of Shadowland, but I think the acting is better in 4-Color.
And Shadowland has quite a cult following, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, does it go beyond St. Louis?
It does go beyond St. Louis. We get emails and cards and letters and things from overseas. We get like a steady stream of purchases online. It's still kind of an ongoing thing. Not 2 weeks ago, I was at the Fox Theater seeing the Star Trek concert. And I'm walking.
I know this story.
I'm walking into the Fox Theater, and there's this nice young woman taking tickets. And she goes, "Excuse me, I just have to ask you." She takes my ticket, and I just have to ask you, are you the director of Shadowland? And I'm like,
whoa, isn't that something?
I said, yeah, I am. She said, I saw that at the Tivoli. I loved that.
Oh, she didn't say you owe me money?
No, she did not.
Then you're moving up.
We were lucky.
Now you also, both of you lived in L.A. for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you stay in touch out there? Were you out there at the same time?
Once we knew each other here, then we stayed in touch out there. I had already come back at that point, but I have connections and things to do out there. So every time I was out there, I would visit him and hang out with him. And
Four Color Eulogy is a great story written by Jason and his father about a guy who has to come home because his mother is sick, and it changes. He comes home with his girlfriend to be with her, and it's a search for who is his father. He didn't grow up with his father. He's not really sure who his father was and why his mom won't tell him, and it's really a terrific story. Now, there's a chance for St. Louisans to see this, showing for a week at Ronnie's Theater, right?
Ronnie's 20 starting April 8th, and we'll actually run for a week with 2 screenings a day, and I think it's 2 p.m. and 7:30 every day. I will say, though, that tickets are selling. Our opening night, which will have a full red carpet.
That's the red carpet.
That's the big red carpet premiere. The 7:30 screening on the 8th is nearly sold out.
Probably the entire cast will be in the audience. And there's no better way to see a movie than see it with the cast.
Oh, yeah, they'll be whooping and hollering and laughing.
They'll probably go every night. It's the only
Well, one of us will be there every night.
Oh, that's good. Good. Will you do any Q&A?
Yes, especially that opening night.
Oh, that's great.
And possibly maybe on a couple of the other screenings, depending on how heavily sold they are. It's not going to be quite the same as it was on opening night, but if there's 1 or 2 of us there for the rest of the evening shows, then we can do a little more Q&A. And I want to tell everybody out there, I know you think local homegrown film, and that can mean a lot of things. And people who saw Shadowland, they know that there was some production value in that. We took that seriously. There were some special effects. There was some serious vampire action. This is not like, a bunch of local guys out in the backyard with a camcorder. This was a serious, full-up, real film. You're not going to feel like you came to the theater and went, oh my God, that was horrible. No, you're going to see a real movie.
And it's a
real sound
story.
and real music
really nice.
and real acting. And it's the real deal.
By the way, music, a lot of local musicians in the movie.
A lot of local musicians. Yeah. A lot of these up-and-coming bands that are just great, like Clockwork. And Abby Stahlschmidt, who is, a great rock violinist, but also one of the actresses in the film, Taylor Peets, who is also from the St. Louis theater community, does a lot of shows at Insight and New Line and all over the city, wrote the original single for the opening credits of the film.
I love that song.
And it's called Color Me. And she has a music video for the film on YouTube, and it's available on iTunes and Amazon, and a lot of local artists. Also in the comic book scene. The film obviously deals heavily with comic books and creating a comic book. There was a lot of local artists that contributed their comic book work to the film. People like Aaron Allen, for instance, who did all of the Jessica Winningham's character, all of her art for the film.
Jason Contini, please congratulate your father for us.
Will do, yes.
Wyatt Weed, thank you so much, both of you, for coming in. And
thank you.
What is the date again at Warenberg Ronnie's Theaters?
April 8th through the 14th. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And tickets can be purchased now if you go to both the Warenberg site as well as our website at fourcolorthemovie.com.
Thank you. And thank you to Clayton's Bakery and Pastries in De Pere. Through their generosity, they made our segment possible today. And they have the best Irish soda bread that I can't stop eating.
That's because they gave it to you.
I know, but I never liked it before, and now I love Irish soda bread. They have that plus recipes from St. Louis's earliest history and fresh baked bread right from the bakery. They're at 11,744 Manchester Road in Des Peres.